Yar, it be Aaron Robertson. Hello, everyone. Salutations. This is Aaron Robertson, and welcome to a very special episode of the RHAP Rewind here on RHAP as a podcast. So, essentially, of the episodes that we are going to be recapping 4 through 7, episode 6 is missing, lost at sea. It's buried in the sea. But luckily, we have a friend on our side, and that friend is called the Wayback Machine. And the Wayback Machine has provided me with very, very detailed notes of what happened on this episode, every scene. So think of this like one of Taryn's daily updates for Big Brother. I'm going to do a little daily update, I guess, in a sense, for Pirate Master episode 6. So if you have not watched episode 6 yet or seen the first 5 episodes, I don't know why I said watched episode 6. It doesn't exist online. If you've not watched the first 5 episodes, feel free to turn this off, watch them, come back. If you don't care about spoilers for episodes 1 through 6, because there will be those for this episode, then yeah, join us. Stay with us here. But spoilers. This is a spoiler. All right. So, episode 6 of Pirate Master. All right. So, we are going to start with the aftermath in this episode. So, we just had Sean cut adrift in a vote of 5-1, with Jupiter being the lone vote for Louis. So the pirates are making their way back below deck to their crew's quarters. And Nessa is thinking at this point, I may be the brokest pirate on the ship, because she had just spent $9,000 on this royal pardon and she didn't even need it. But she feels good that, she made a good impression on Jodan, because Jodan contributed $2,500 of that $9,000 towards that pardon to make sure that Nessa was still in the game and was not cut adrift. So we're going to cut to Joy's perspective here. She is watching Captain Azimuth and Ben and Jay, his officers at the time, returning to the captain's cabin. And she's thinking, we really don't know what goes on in those chambers. Those 3 men, they have a plan, they have a strategy. So in that captain's cabin, basically, the triad of Azimuth and Ben and Jay are celebrating removing Sean from the game, because that was a big part of their strategy. They are trying to stack the deck in their favor. They are always going to have 3 men on their crew, and the other crew will have less. So currently, the strong guys still in the game are Jodan and Louis. That's all that is left. So they are going to have to be on the red crew, just due to logistics. So Jay, feels good about that. It's not bad, and they feel good about their situation. Basically, Jodan and the women are complaining about this boys' club that Azimuth and Jay and Ben have created. So Jodan is like, there should be 3 women in charge of this ship. And Krista likes this idea. Krista feels that, she would be a really good captain. And Laurel thinks about what they need to do to make sure that they can get women in power, because those 3 guys are going to stick together no matter what she's saying in confessional. They are going to take over, and they're going to try to remove the other men. They're going to try to remove Jodan and Louis. So, the women, we're going to have to step up and win against the captain. Then we're going to be able to have this all-girls officer group. So it is the next morning, and yeah, all of the crew has a lot of resentment towards Azimuth, as the captain has elected to sleep late. He's not helping the crew. And Jodan is even saying, as a captain, Azimuth is junk. He does not have the leadership qualities that I think a captain should have. So Azimuth wakes up. He's meeting with Laurel in the galley. He's apologizing for what he said during the last Pirates Court. And Azimuth is trying to explain, the idea of taking sides in the game. And Laurel is basically reiterating to him that she's not taking sides when voting. And despite this apology, Laurel feels the same way about Asmith. She has no respect. I have no respect for that fool right now that she's saying, when he's in that blue coat, he is a totally different person. He's a super freak in a blue coat. So we cut to our host, Cameron Dado, and he's telling the pirates about this expedition that they are about to go on, basically where the bosun has hidden this part of the treasure of the chest of Zanzibar, where they open that next compartment. Jay opens it, has 2 maps and a note, as always, and Cameron reads that note and reveals that to do this, they're going to need a pick shot to determine which crew they will join for the expedition for the bosun's treasure. So the red crew, as mentioned earlier, is going to have Louis and Jodan by default, since all the other men are on the black crew. And they will be joined by Nessa, Kendra, and Jupiter. And the black crew is going to have Asmith, Jay, Ben, Laurel, Krista, and Joy, as the black crew will always have more members for the captain's advantage. Okay, so everybody learns that they have to swim to shore for this expedition. And yeah, thinking about the history with swimming, Jay is starting to wonder if Joy, with her injuries, and Kendra, with her swimming prowess in the previous episodes, is going to be a liability. The only thing that I could do for Joy is just to stay with her, but they've got Kendra, and I think she's going to be a big anchor for the other team. So Jay's wanting to make sure that Joy is able to swim. That way Kendra can, hold that red crew back. So then this expedition is going to begin. Everybody jumps over that side of the ship. They're swimming. And Jay is helping Joy, like he said. And Jodan is trying to help Kendra on the red crew, helping her through the water. And, even though Kendra is not the best swimmer, the red crew actually does reach the beach first. And they quickly are able to run to the plantation with the black crew close behind. And so both crews are going to find the rope ladders with the next clue. On the journey, you must carry this ladder, which will prove quite necessary. So both teams are carrying this ladder, and they're making their way up the steep path in the mountains, and they are looking for a shipwreck, a boat wreckage that's going to have their next clue. So the black crew, they want Joy to shine, and they put her in charge of the compass with the directions. But when they put her in that position, it does not work. She has trouble keeping up with the crew, and she's kind of blowing everybody away because she's suddenly asked everybody for a drink of water, and they're like, "What is happening?" And Jay is saying, when you're out there and somebody's dragging behind that much and somebody wants to stop and have water, I'm like, you don't need water, Jay is complaining. You need loot. You need treasure. Keep moving. So even with all of that, the black crew actually does get to the longboat first and retrieves their next clue, which lets them know that they have to continue into the jungle and find a pair of masts in the trees where they will hoist their ladders and untie a key from a tricky knot. So the black crew heads into the jungle, finds the mast, but then the red crew is not very far behind. They are catching up. And as the black crew is hoisting their ladder up onto the tree's mast, the red crew is neck and neck with them, doing the same thing on a different tree. So Asmith is going to climb the ladder first for the black crew and starts to untie the knot while Louis climbs for the red crew. Louis is struggling to find the key, which, the whole time was near his foot. Who knew? And so by the time he finds this key, Asmith is already going down the ladder with his own key in hand. So both crews have the keys. Now they have to head down this narrow ravine. They're searching for a footbridge. And the black crew is trekking through this mud. Krista is yelling at Joy, telling her to go faster or she will get a black spot. Ooh. And the black crew is climbing up with another rope ladder that scales the side of a steep cliff. Ben is like, wow, Krista is awesome. I'm crazy impressed with Krista. She's a soldier. She looks like a Barbie doll on steroids, but she never stops. So Krista is gaining some brownie points with the current captain and officers. So the black crew is going to reach that footbridge first, but the red crew is not far behind. And as everybody's making their way across the rope bridge, Ben discovers words on the board by his feet that make up their next clue. Jay figures out this clue and realizes that the clue is off the bow, portside treasure. So once the black crew crosses over to the other side, they find this large rock with the ship painted on it. Ben is searching, and they find the treasure, getting another win for the black crew. And Joy is very excited by this. She's like, I just won so much money, and now I can say that I can belong again. I didn't let the team down. And the red crew is not excited about this for yet another week of Asmith being in charge. And Nessa is very, very dejected about this. She says, it was important for us to get Asmith out of the captainship. It's just not the treasure you're losing, but it's potentially the end of your voyage, and none of us wanted that. So the red crew goes back to the ship after they lose, and Cameron tells Nessa that she has to get rid of this royal pardon that she has by the next pirate's court. So the black crew boards the ship next. They start counting the treasure. For this one, they have $40,000. Woohoo! And Asmith chooses to keep the same officers and rationalizes it by saying, we have 3 strong males that the other crew cannot acquire, and strategically, our minds work very well together. We're truly trying to seek the end of the game right now. And the Asmith and the officers are going to head back below deck, and Jay is going to take comfort in the fact that the 3 of them are the biggest force on the expeditions. So Asmith chooses to split this 60-40. So basically, he and the officers are getting 60 and everybody else is getting 40 between themselves. So his officers can pocket more of the gold. When Joy accepts her share, she notices how the blue coat is starting to change Asmith, since the treasure was split evenly last time, and now Asmith is sacking it. Laurel's the next to retrieve her portion, and she comments, the way I feel about Asmith right now is super sketchy. I look at him like a greedy idiot that needs to go home. And as Asmith and the officers are discussing the upcoming black spots, they complain that Joy's performance on the expedition, even though they won, was not great. And even though Asmith likes Joy over Kendra, everybody's thinking, one of these two has to go. So they're thinking, Jodan's probably going to place the highest bid on the pardon. But if he buys it, then that means Joy or Kendra are for sure going to be cut adrift. So basically, to guarantee that one of the threats, either the strong guy plan like they were going for at the beginning of the episode, or Kendra and Joy are going to be going home. So they mark Jodan, Kendra, and Joy with a black spot. So we're going to cut to the night, and Jodan and Nessa are talking about Asmith and his unpredictability and the fact that they do not trust him at all. And they start flirting with each other. Is this love on the Picton Castle? What? So Jodan makes a little move, and Jodan and Nessa start kissing. Imagine that. And then the next morning, Asmith and the officers are handing out the summons to the crew. And basically, after receiving her black spot, Joy is worrying about her chances of survival because she didn't bid on the pardon this week. And Kendra had a feeling she would receive a black spot. She does not think that she deserves one. And Jodan sees his black spot. He considers mutiny, but realizes that that's not going to work because in order to mutiny, the officers are going to have to agree, and Ben and Jay are not going to agree to a mutiny, not with Asmith in charge. So while the crew is chatting about these black spots, they realize that Asmith and Ben and Jay are trying to stack this deck. They are getting rid of the strong males, and Jodan is thinking about this and is saying, you know what? I think the threat that Az feels with me is a physical one. I think I've got a big, big target on my head. And when the shipmates ask Jodan if he bid on the pardon, he points out that he probably doesn't need to bid because he worked hard on the expeditions, making him the crew's greatest asset. Jay urges Nessa to vote for Joy because she stopped on the expedition, and Jay is telling her that he's not going to black spot Nessa if she goes along with this. And Nessa says, I don't like being threatened and how I need to vote. I'm not afraid of them, and I'm not going to do what they tell me to do like a little sheep. And then meanwhile, Jupiter and Joy are talking. And Jupiter tells Joy that she has a good chance of staying on the ship, and the two, embrace. And Joy is saying, this is my third time going to Pirates Court, and I still feel like everyone likes me. And I know it all depends on how my crew feels about it, and it lies in their hands. Then we're going to cut to Louie and Kendra, who have been working closely together this entire game. And they're going to talk about whether or not Joy's personality is going to secure her more votes because Joy is more liked on the ship. She's been more social. She has a lot more friends on the ship than Kendra. And so they are going to appeal to Nessa. Kendra's going to approach Nessa. And she's going to explain that she still performs better than Joy on expeditions, even though Joy's more liked. And Louis is facing a tough decision. Basically, I did say that I never would vote for a lady, he says, and tonight I almost have to because Jodan is now my closest ally in the fight against the Black. They are trying to get rid of Jodan and myself. We have to stick together this way. Then we're going to go to the Pirates Court. Woohoo! And Catherine, whoa. Then we're going to go to the Pirates Court, and Captain Azimuth is explaining that he marked Kendra because she's slow, and he marked Joy because of her request for water on this expedition, and he marked Jodan because he's a strong competitor. So first to defend herself tonight is going to be Joy, and she says, I understand that I may be the weak one out here, but I never give up, and I feel as though I'm doing the best that I can do. Kendra goes next, and she says, somebody's always going to be in the back. I just try and make sure that my back is only 10 feet from yours. And Jodan is going to address the captain, which we have seen has not worked in the past, but we'll see how it works this time. He's going to say, he warns Azimuth that he is a threat to their power. Jodan said, I'm a threat to you, Azimuth. And he addresses the crew. I think it's going to be tough if I'm gone. And the brunt is going to be on Louis versus those three guys. With 4 women and 1 man against 3 strong men, it seems like an easy equation to me. Louis voices his concern before the vote by saying, I could think of 100,000 reasons on why not to vote for all of them, and I can't think of one good why. I don't know what I'm doing. One by one, the pirates are going to cast their ballots. Cameron examines these bids on the royal pardon and informs the crew that if the highest bidder has the most ballots, the pirate with the next highest ballots will be cut adrift. When Jodan is announced to be the highest bidder at $12,000, Nessa smiles because she's realizing that she's not broke anymore, at least not compared to Jodan. After Jodan pays her, Cameron informs him that he just spent $12,000 on a pardon he didn't need. Jodan rejoins the crew, and Cameron reveals the final vote. 3 ballots for Joy and 2 for Kendra. Joy says farewell to the shipmates as she's cut adrift. I hate losing, Joy says as she's floating out to the sea. I gave 110%, and then when you lose, it hits you pretty hard, but then you get up, you dust off your knees, and you keep going. So let me go over the breakdown of this vote. So obviously, the Captain Azimuth and the 2 officers, Ben and Jay, are not going to vote. Neither are Jodan, Joy, or Kendra, who have the black spot. So Louis, Laurel, and Nessa, who Kendra convinced, all vote for Joy. Krista and Jupiter vote for Kendra. And by a 3-2 vote, Joy has been sent and cut adrift. And that is the Lost episode 6. This was a very, very quick episode. I hope that you all enjoyed it. And I shall see you for this recap. You can continue watching episode 7. Hope this fills in a lot of gaps for you. And I shall see you next time. And until then, ahoy, don't walk the plank. See you next time.